Usually when you're thinking of an RPG, your mind goes to games like The Witcher 3, Skyrim, Baldur's Gate 3, or maybe even one of the more recent Assassin's Creed games, and not something like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which is an open world sandbox game. And one that I personally think is perhaps the greatest RPG-like game that Rockstar ever made. And that's what I want to talk about today. Some might say that even other franchises that are also from Rockstar, mainly the Red Dead Redemption games, would be better suited for the greatest RPG title, since these two games in particular include elements like buying and selling items found within the game world, with the option to even craft some of those yourself, a lot of clothing options as well, which again, some can be found, others can be unlocked by doing certain challenges, the ability to set up camping locations almost anywhere on the map and use it to fast travel to a list of set locations, an honor system for both games and a fame one for RDR1, which both are affected by your actions during free roam and missions, and can change certain moments depending on which side you lean on, Deadeye and Stamina cores which can be improved, and so many more elements that are usually staples of any RPG. So why would I place San Andreas in the same category as the Red Dead Redemption games, and even go as far as calling it better than GTA 5? Again, in terms of RPG elements, just so we're clear. Well, to be completely honest with you, I can't exactly put my finger on it. And I don't think there's a single element within GTA San Andreas that makes it really solid in that area. There's many small and big features that all play a part in this. So let's just go over most of them, and figure it out together. One of the first and most important elements that plays a huge role in all of this is the atmosphere itself, and the art style of the game, one that is so iconic and very recognizable. For it to be the ultimate experience, I believe the original PS2/Xbox version is by far the best way to enjoy it. Even though the PC version looks just as great and is a solid way to enjoy San Andreas, playing it completely vanilla isn't gonna be a very smooth sail, and I'd recommend to add just a few additional fixes on top of it, so as to make it both friendlier with modern hardware, but also to re-implement the fogginess and haze, the orange glow and the heat waves effect, all which made the game look stunning despite coming out on the PS2 almost 20 years ago. So adding in this PS2 graphics mod, which only contains one file, will bring all of that back. Additionally, you could also slap on a widescreen fix, and another one called the input, which fixes mouse issues, and you could unlock the frame rate in-game to then lock it to 60 using any external program of your choice, which will result in the beautiful looking game that you're looking at right now. All of this might be a bit confusing to set up at first, but once you're done, you're in for a smooth and pleasant experience. But no matter how you choose to play it, whether it's the original PS2 hardware or emulating it, playing vanilla/modded on PC, all of them are great options, with the exception of the Definitive Edition. Anything but that one. I've clearly went off track here, but I think it's very important to mention that. Now, where do we even begin? Most of the gameplay you see is done right at the start of the game, before completing even the very first mission. And I've done that just for me to remember how much stuff can be done before even getting involved in CJ's story at all. Because a lot of people, including myself, pick up any random GTA game purely for the freedom to do whatever you want, which mainly boils down to causing complete mayhem in the city and much less because of their stories. Although some of them are really well written, most notably GTA 4, but San Andreas is a close second as well. Much of the Los Santos portion serves just as a tutorial, gradually showing the player the ropes and how things work, but also to unlock certain features and locations like restaurants, barber and tattoo shops, ammunition to buy guns, various clothing stores, garages to modify cars, and even an entire gang wars minigame, which is more relevant in the final chapter of the game when CJ returns to Los Santos. Oh, and obviously playing missions will eventually unlock the other two cities and their surrounding areas, which can be explored and even dabbled with a few side quests required for the 100% game completion right at the start. But you're gonna have to deal with a permanent 4-star wanted level, which I kind of forgot how hard it can be to deal with, especially when your health isn't maxed out and you're also poorly equipped for that. So at this point in the game, the customization options for CJ are quite limited, with the options to remove some of the clothes he's already wearing, or alternatively, find and date most of the girlfriends CJ can have and unlock a few special outfits. However, it's gonna be quite the grind. But you can still access a gym located in Verona Beach, so you can make CJ look like the average steroid user from the very beginning. Or you can do the complete opposite, Despite restaurants not being available at the start, eating insane amounts of food from vending machines located across the map can actually increase CJ's fat stat, but be warned, it's gonna take ages to reach the maximum capacity. But I find it amazing how Rockstar actually made it possible to overindulge in vending machine snacks to the point of actually gaining weight, and not reserving this feature to food found within restaurants. And something even cooler that you may or may not have known is that despite barber and tattoo shops not being unlocked until after you complete Ryder's first mission, there is one tattoo shop located in Red Sands, Las Venturas that is for some reason unlocked at the very beginning. And it's the only one open on the entire map, so you can actually put a few really cool tattoos on CJ. Of course, this is a simple developer oversight and not actually intended. But I don't care, I personally find it to be really amazing. There's plenty of progression that you can do early on, like doing all of the vehicle related side missions, such as taxi driver, firefighter, paramedic, vigilante, all at the start to get the cash and buy all of the properties in and around Los Santos, but also to get the main rewards, like becoming fireproof and getting the max health bar. You can even do some of the lesser known side jobs in San Fierro and Las Venturas that involve delivering packages right from the start, but again, you'll have to deal with a permanent 4-star wanted rating, which makes things really challenging. The same goes for collectibles, which are horseshoes for LV, taking snapshots around SF, and oysters all around the waters of the entire state. Or if you want to ignore all of that, you can play one of the couple arcade minigames, including one that's found in CJ's house. Because what better way to spend your time in a video game if not playing a smaller video game hidden inside it? And the list of things you can do right off the bat doesn't end there, but I won't list every single thing imaginable. Although I will talk about the player stats and how they actually play a role in the game, and change things as you increase them. The main ones displayed when pressing tab are respect, stamina, muscle, fat, and sex appeal, and they all impact the game in some regard depending on how high/low the bar is. But they're not really created equal. The respect stat isn't really that impactful, and doesn't really serve the purposes that I would have loved to. But more on that on an earlier video I've made. Increasing it makes NPCs react positively to you, and allows you to recruit more GSF members, maxing out at 7. The way to increase it is by either completing missions or by taking out rival gang members and cops. But using the latter method will take ages, so I wouldn't really stress about it. The rest of them are pretty self-explanatory, with maybe the sex appeal one being a bit confusing. But it's mainly good to impress the girlfriends you can make across the map and get positive reactions from other female NPCs as well. Then you have the stats for each individual type of vehicle, so driving skills, flying, biking, boating, and even cycling. And improving some of those skills unlocks different perks. You know how Discard always tells you,
only people holding a valid pilot's license may enter.
Well, grind the flying stat enough and you can bypass that, instead of needing to jump the fence each time. And others like driving and cycling unlock things like the stadium event in LS or the mountain bike challenge on top of Chiliad. Last but not least, there's also the weapon stats, with the player actually changing animations and making the guns easier to control upon maxing out the stat of each of them. I recommend parking a car in your garage and just going to town, but some might call that cheating, so you do you. If what I've listed here isn't indicative of how amazing an RPG like GTA San Andreas is, then I'm not sure what to say. The sheer amount of side content, RPG elements, and little things you can find and interact with within the game world are not only seemingly endless, but they're also so much more fun to engage with than in other games. And the funny part is that most of these can be done before the very first mission, with many more things to be unlocked later on. Like clothing stores and barber shops, which combined with tattoos and CJ's body changes you can make, can probably total up to thousands if not more different options to make CJ look just to your liking. And he remains to this day the most customizable GTA protagonist ever, or maybe the second most one if you count the GTA Online one. Couple that with the fact that San Andreas' map is a state composed of 3 cities, with deserts, forests, mountains, and so many little towns all in between, give the game so much more depth despite not actually being the largest map in a GTA game. While GTA 5's rendition of Los Santos and Blaine County is actually larger, the illusion that GTA San Andreas creates make it seem much bigger than it actually is, and the fogginess and haze do help with creating that illusion. That is, again, if you aren't playing Definitive Edition. And it looks like GTA 6 is gonna bring that back to a certain extent, with the map having one main city and a secondary, perhaps less important one, with other small towns in between, the Everglades, and other awesome locations that remain to be discovered. There's just something about San Andreas and going around the map collecting weird melee items and other guns in obscure locations, with CJ dressed like he picked out clothes at random, or going down the Las Venturas highway whilst listening to K-Dust, that is just absolutely wonderful. Hard about what I've said so far, like doing side missions, buying properties, working on your stats and so on, all right at the start, can to some extent be done in other GTA games as well, but none of them give me the same exact feeling of an RPG that San Andreas does. I've said in the beginning how the story isn't very relevant to the topic of discussion, but I kinda lied there, because going over CJ's entire journey emphasizes the RPG nature of this game even more, and gradually unlocking new cities does give a much greater sense of progression. But unlocking these new areas doesn't just give you a new place to cause mayhem in, or collect various items without having the constant threat of a 4-star wanted rating. It also gives even more side content on top of the already seemingly endless list that we had so far. Like how in San Fierro you can do the driving school, which unlocks a few cars, but also a new set of missions for the Doherty garage, which if completed will then unlock another side activity where you can collect cars and give them to the import-export docks, similar to GTA 3 and Vice City. And it even lets you pick them up with this massive crane, which is just awesome. We haven't even unlocked the third area of the game, and the content just keeps piling up, and it doesn't even feel like the game is bloated with it. Some of the little activities you can do around the map are somewhat similar and can feel repetitive to a certain extent, sure, but I feel like for the most part it's done very tastefully. And unlike some modern games which probably have double or even triple the amount of content San Andreas does, it doesn't shove it in your face at all times. It's just there if you want to engage with it in between the main storyline, or engage with them instead of the storyline, if that's what you prefer. I sometimes forget the difference in size between 3, VC, and San Andreas, and it's in almost every aspect. The map, the story length, the amount of vehicles and their variety, side missions, guns, although Vice City does have a sizable range of weapons to choose from, especially in the melee department. And all of that came onto the very same hardware. It's just mind-blowing how Rockstar manages to exceed what we think it's possible to achieve on a console, and they've done it for every generation. 3 and VC were already technical marvels in and of themselves, but San Andreas was even miles higher. GTA 4 was again a feat of Rockstar's capabilities, but then they also made GTA 5, which had a bigger map and more content on the same generation of consoles as its predecessor. Then there was also Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a nearly 6 years old game, and it still looks better than games that came out last year, and it also pushed what people thought was possible on the PS4 and Xbox One. And who knows what they'll be able to pull off on the current gen with GTA 6. The sky doesn't seem to be the limit for Rockstar. I'm just hoping they're gonna take a page out of San Andreas' book and really try to make the exploration of Leonidas State similar to how it was in this game. And judging by the official artwork and the trailer, we're gonna be limited in some way. Maybe we'll also get another meme call like this one.
Carl, it's Officer Hernandez.
Who?
I'm sure they wanted more out of both GTA 4 and 5. After all, they did plan for Liberty State to be a thing, with forests and mountains surrounding the city. So I'm sure that with the hardware available nowadays, Rockstar is most likely gonna give us a somewhat similar experience to that of San Andreas in terms of size and scope, and I'm all here for it. Even if you're not a fan of this game, I think you can still appreciate how Rockstar was able to push out such a massive game on such limited hardware nearly 20 years ago. And like I've mentioned previously, the original art style and in-game effects make it look timeless and beautiful even now. And there's still tons of things in the game that I've either not mentioned so far or just briefly touched upon, like the burglar missions, which are a really cool concept, betting shops and casino in Las Venturas where you can risk it all and get your money into the negative, only to then be chased by loan sharks in Las Venturas, pimping missions, other schools besides driving, learning 3 different fighting styles, playing pool, playing basketball. Seriously, what can't you do in this game? Honestly had to look up the complete list because even after thousands of hours in this game, I've forgotten some of them, not because they weren't enjoyable, but just because there's so much, and it's also interesting and fun to engage with. But I think I've rambled enough, and I'd love to hear your thoughts instead. Is San Andreas the best RPG ever made by Rockstar? And how do you spend your time in the game outside of doing missions? And what aspects would you like to see make a return in GTA 6? Let me know in the comment section down below. And while you're there, also leave a like. And of course, consider subscribing if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching.